All right, everybody, it's Friday. So let's open up the mailbag and do a free form Friday. Why not? Questions came in about the future of the Avalanche captaincy, why this 27th draft pick is so important to the Colorado Avalanche, and Nicolas Aube-Kubel. Is he to blame for all the injuries? Did we crack the code? New episode Locked on Avalanche coming up.
You're Locked on Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked on Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Fridays, everybody out there. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. I'm Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOP_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked on Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And make sure to follow us on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And why not subscribe to our subtext while you're at it? Link to that is in the show notes below. Subscribe. Chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. All right, sir. So we opened up the mailbag and got, as always, some really good questions from the fine followers over at Instagram. We are recording this as Game 3 is going on. And what is the score right now? It is now 2-1 Vegas with about 30 seconds left in the second. So Panthers got some work to do if they want to make this thing a series, because if that goes 3-0, that's not good for anybody. That's not good for the league. I have no problem with the matchup. Everybody was like, "Oh, this isn't like a New York and LA big market, whatever." And I get that. That's always going to be the argument when you don't have a big market team in there. I have no problem with the matchup, but it didn't matter what the matchup is. You don't want a 3-0 Stanley Cup final. You just
no. You get excited about it because it's both organizations' opportunity to win their first. So that's always a good story. But, yeah, you don't want it to be a sweep.
Let me throw this out to you, and I'm putting you on the spot here. So because I recorded the national show with Adam Denker, and we talked about, because you mentioned like this will be the first Stanley Cup for either one of these teams, right? Mm-hmm. After one of these teams win it, there'll be 11 teams left that have not won the Stanley Cup. And we talked about who will be the next one to win their first.
Seattle.
That's what he said. That is exactly what he said. That was like his number one team. And I, towards the end, I kind of agreed with him. But you got Arizona, Columbus, Minnesota, Seattle, Winnipeg, Buffalo, Ottawa, Vancouver, San Jose, Nashville, and then these two teams.
Seattle's the only one going north in trajectory.
I said, and Minnesota is always that team that fights for it. You know what I mean? They have a front office that always makes moves to try to improve the team. So we won't dwell on that too much, but I thought it was an interesting question. So we are going to start with some questions from our fine followers over on Instagram. And if you want to get involved in this during the off season, we will probably do this every Friday. So follow us over on Instagram. Like I said, just search Locked on Avalanche, and then it goes up in the story section or whatever it is at the top of the Instagram app. And then, you can ask away. I answer them on the app, and then we kind of go into a little bit of a deeper dive during the episode. So why not jump into them, and we'll just do a really quick, easy one right now. When will they do something? And that was asked by I think it's Chell Rambler. I believe that's how you say that. And I like, this is the world of impatience in which we live. I'm not expecting a lot to happen right now because it's just the season's not over. For the Avalanche, it is. For 29 other teams, it is. But you can't. You can sign your own restricted free agents and you have a time frame when you can sign unrestricted free agents. But other teams, like, you can't do that stuff until a certain time of the calendar, and that's not here yet. So you just have to be patient. Root for a sweep. That doesn't really push the dates up any further, but it makes the offseason feel like everybody's on the offseason now, and we're eventually going to get to some signings here.
It's funny, last year we couldn't wait long enough to finally do something. Like, we were enjoying the party of lifting the cup and parading everywhere, and now we're ready for moves to be made before the season's even over.
Yeah, now we're angry. So just sit tight. It'll get here. And I think, the inactivity of the Avalanche during the trade deadline has people feeling like it's been so long since they've done anything. And I get that. So I just hope it is an off season where you get something.
Yeah, rest assured, they have to do something. Don't worry.
Yes. There is a lot of work to do for this Avalanche roster. So next question from at Collins Wellness. So he says, stick Erod at the 2C between Val and Lecky. Would Hathaway fit? Garnet Hathaway fit as a right wing on the third line. $1.5 million for 22 points. So he's already got his stat total projected for next year, which is not that far off. That's pretty much what Garnet Hathaway will give you. Go ahead. What do you feel on that?
I love this.
All of it?
I do.
Really?
I get Erod back on the cheap. It's not like he's going to break the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Bring him back. As we talked about it yesterday, Val and Lecky need to step up a little bit. You know what? I don't
even the Hathaway part of it.
Like, the more I sit and marinate on it, what could it hurt?
Well, I mean, I don't think Hathaway is going to be like your first option. That might be one of those things where if you have option A, B, and C, and those don't work out, maybe you go to him, because he's right about like his point total. Maybe it goes up a little bit more because he's playing with the Avalanche, and you give him a little bit more because he's on a offensive minded team. Maybe that brings something out in him that he can give you a couple more points. But he's been in the league long enough to know, like, it's kind of who he is. So I'm not sold on him being your third line winger. But I'm also not against bringing him in.
Yeah.
I think he could be a relatively good fit, and see what you can get on those bottom six. If you play him on the third, maybe he, like I said, his stats go up a little bit more. If not, I have no problem putting someone like him on a fourth line. I think he could do relatively well here.
Yeah.
But the Erod at 2C thing, I'm just in my head. I am so stuck on the Avs needing to do something to bring somebody from the outside in. I'm not comfortable with the guys that they have. I really like Evan Rodriguez. I hope they re-sign him. I'd rather him kind of play his role, what he did last year, than stick him at the 2C and say, have at it. I think he'd be okay, but we were spoiled with Nazem Kadri, and I kind of want that again. And as much as I like Evan Rodriguez, he's not it. So I kind of want the Avs to go out and find that other version of Nazem Kadri wherever they may be.
I agree with you there, but like as Collins Wellness says, I really think this might be the more realistic way they put this team back together and just limp it to the deadline. I feel like they're going to go with Erod. I don't feel like they're going to make that home run move because there's really not that much money to make that home run move.
Not right now. Like we've said, moves would need to be made. It'd likely come in the form of a trade and not so much in a unrestricted free agent signing. So that way it could happen. But I kind of get the feeling that how that position went last year, they don't want to wait till the trade deadline. I get what you're saying, and a number that's what they tried last year.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out. I don't see them doing that 2 years in a row. I think they go out. I think that's one of the first moves that they make is solidifying.
I sure hope so.
We'll see. Well, why don't we take a break? Because this next one I feel like we're going to be talking about for a hot second. So first, though, we are going to hear from Gametime and the Gametime app. And buying tickets to your favorite event should not be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all of these sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you're about to have. And what are some of the things that we love about the Gametime app? Those flash deals. Cannot beat flash deals on last-minute tickets. Easy to find. Buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. And the images of the seat views, something that Kyle and I absolutely love. And lowest price guarantee with event cancellation protection and even job loss protection. So download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So once again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. One last thought I just had about that like 2C position, and I think that's like the first thing that the Avalanche address. And I think they kind of do that to kind of like almost put the league like on notice, like, yep, that was a problem. We corrected it. And I feel like they go after that, nip that in the bud, and away they go. And they don't let, like, they know what if they know what they want to do, they go after it and they attack it as early as possible, get that out of the way. And everybody in the league is like, uh-oh, Avs got another 2C. And now they're back, rolling like they were with in the Nazem Kadri days.
Yeah, they need to.
Like,
it's the first time they've had to like really make a move like this. Usually they rely on their youth and to fill in those spots. So
yeah,
they're in a position where they have to go out there and make a statement. I really hope they do.
I mean, if the once the offseason opens up and it's open season, if the weeks go on and it hasn't been addressed, you're going to have an angry fan base.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows that's the most glaring need that they have. And if you're not addressing it and all these other teams are just making moves around you and you're just stagnant, people are going to start wondering what's going on behind the scenes. So that's where we are with that. All right, let's jump back into these. Good question here. How do you feel about Makar being a future captain for the Avalanche? And that's from Alex Buhin. Sorry, pronouncing that wrong. I apologize. Still, I think a lot of people, this was the whole Landeskog thing. If he can't play again, or even if he does play and it's still 3 or 4 years down the road and he eventually has to give it up, who's next in line for captaincy?
I would love, like, Makar would be your ideal captain, but it will never happen as long as 29 is on the ice.
I know. And I know, like, it would be probably between those two and Mikko Rantanen, but it's Nathan MacKinnon's, right? Yeah. He said before, that Gabe Landeskog is the perfect captain for this team, and he doesn't want the captaincy. And I fully believe that. And I also fully believe that as long as Gabe Landeskog is on the team, that he probably doesn't want to be captain. But if that is removed, like, it's not like Nathan MacKinnon is going to strip it from Gabe Landeskog and be the captain while Gabe Landeskog is still playing. That's not going to happen. It's Gabe's until he says, I'm hanging them up. And then if Nathan MacKinnon is still playing at that time, it's his. He's a dominant force in the locker room.
Yeah.
And all last year, everybody was like, oh, they miss Gabe. Of course, they miss Gabe, what he brings on the ice. I was not one of those that bought into you're missing what he brings in terms of galvanizing your team. They have guys that do that, and Nathan MacKinnon is number one on that list of guys. He gets people motivated. He makes people play their role, and he doesn't let you slip even in practice. We heard the classic Nikita Zadorov interview, where he gets annoyed if you're like an eighth of an inch off on your passes in practice, but he's captain material, and it would be him. I don't even think it's relatively close.
Yeah, it's Nathan MacKinnon's.
Easily. Although I do think Makar would be a good captain.
He would.
I think he would be a very good captain. But, with MacKinnon being there longer and the superstar status,
There will be a ceremony of the passing of the torch between Landy and Nathan MacKinnon.
There should be. Yeah. Really good question here. Is a late first round pick as valuable as the Avs want it to be? They did a lot to protect it. That comes from at Burgundy Yeti. They did. And you heard often that any trade that the Avalanche were going to do, and this goes back to last year, the first round pick was off the table. And I know when they got Lehkonen, that was something Montreal wanted, and they just told them no. Like it's a non-starter. And I think it was for a couple reasons. They knew that this draft was going to be a much deeper draft than last year. And they need to start rebuilding their prospect pool. It is really, really, really thin right now. So you cannot keep giving up draft picks left and right if you want to cultivate these young players and have them eventually be budding NHL players for you. You can't just keep trading, because after the first round, you don't have anything till the 5th this year.
Yeah.
So I think it was twofold for the Avalanche. It's like, we cannot keep giving up these first round picks. And it's a very good, very deep draft. And even where they're picking at 27, they can get a pretty good player.
Yeah, they need this value. They need to restock the Eagles. They really need to get younger and get back to getting younger, because I mentioned it earlier, like the ascension of Bo Byram, Cale Makar, players like that, and kind of the flop that Newhook has turned out to be right out of the gate, where they kind of anticipated a lot. Well,
right,
they anticipated a lot more out of him.
Right.
They gave him that 2C role that you were wanting, and he just couldn't rise to the occasion. Yep. So, and there was a myriad of Colorado Eagles that joined the team last year. Nobody really stuck around. So they got to refresh what's going on in Loveland.
They do.
And with this pick in the deep draft, it is valuable.
Very much. Very much so. I wouldn't be surprised. Let me see what they have for next year. I know they don't have a second. So this year they don't have a second, third, and fourth. Next year they don't have a second or third. The year after that, they don't have a second. So it kind of like funnels down a second, third, and fourth, then a second, third, and then a second for the next 3 years. But you have all first round picks for those too. And the reason I wanted to just double check on that is because it wouldn't surprise me if the Avalanche tried to package some picks in future drafts to jump back into the second or third round this year. Because like I said, like, this draft is a very, very good draft. I don't know how they do that, though, when you're missing that many draft picks.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. They really have their hands tied money-wise, who's on the team, who they got to bring back, and picks going in the future.
And quickly, I will throw out one name to you who I absolutely love. And if he falls to the Avalanche, they will sprint to the podium to select this guy. And he goes by the name of Andrew Crystal. On the level of Connor Bedard in terms of scoring. And that is all I will say. But he is dropping because he was injured. He's a little bit undersized. The potential of him, he's talking about the roof or the ceiling. It's so high for this guy. And if he is there, you are taking him without even asking any questions.
See, Chris McFarland, this is why it pays off to be an everydayer.
Yeah. So, and it's, I talked to Hattie about it, our NHL guru, prospect guru, who was on our show. I asked him, like, is it possible he could be there? He said, very much so. And if the Avalanche get him, watch out. So put that name in your back pocket. We'll do one more before we gotta take another quick break. If we don't sign Comfer, what then? Newhook has potential, but maybe not at 2C yet. Thank you I'm just going to say at Phil, because I don't know how to say that whole thing there. No, I mean, this is something that we've talked about even earlier in this show. Even if we do sign Comfer, he's not my answer. I kind of said earlier, like I'm not confident in the guys we have currently for a 2C. So even if we do sign him, I'd be okay with that as long as the number is okay. But you still have 2C problems.
Yep.
And no, New Hook is not it
Yep.
right now anyway.
That was the problem last year, was 2C problems all year long. That's why you got bounced in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you brought your entire team back, 2C is still an issue. Comfer, Erod, New Hook, 2C is still a problem.
It's still a problem. So few more to go, but first we are going to hear from our very favorite, the Birddogs. And these are, we're telling you people, like, we're not just doing an ad for you. Like, check out birddogs.com. Look at what they have for men and for women. We can only speak to the men's side because that's all they sent us and that's all we've been wearing. But they are insanely comfortable, and you can wear them in any situation, around the house, out in golfing, fine dining. If you want to wear, like, you can wear them in all situations. They have a stretch khaki like material to them. So it's the best of both worlds. It's comfortable. You get to wear like a khaki style of shorts or pants, and they stretch more than regular khakis, and they're breathable better. And they have an anti-stink sweat wicking fabric. Say that 10 times fast.
Nope.
Keeps you cool and dry all day long. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton, because Birddogs fixed this issue. They invented a cloud knit fabric. It looks just like khaki, but stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice on movement. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL, enter the promo code LockedOnNHL, and what can you get? There it is, a Yeti style bird dog tumbler. Thing is wonderful. Once again, birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. Get some great shorts or some great pants, and you enter that promo code LockedOnNHL, and that Yeti style tumbler is yours for free. All right. A few more questions to get to here. And hey, I have a feeling we're going to get this question every time we do a mailbag. There you go. We getting Crosby. Megadeth 28. Love the name. It's I guess we'll answer it every time. I just do not feel like this is happening, especially now that Pittsburgh has a new man in charge with Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas is not going to go into Pittsburgh and his first offseason deal Sidney Crosby. They will be revolting in Pittsburgh if that happens. So I didn't think it was going to happen before he got there, and I absolutely don't even think it's going to. It was 100% that I feel like it wasn't going to happen. Now it's 101% that it's not going to happen, at least for this year. I am still open to the fact. I always feel like these superstar players, when they get to the end of their careers, go somewhere else to maybe just have one last hoorah if the team they're on is struggling. That's really the only way that you're going to get Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, Kyle Dubas, one of his first conversations was with Sidney Crosby. So I definitely feel like he's going to be staying there. So I'm sorry, Megadeth. I toot Le Monde, but there's no symphony of destruction in Pittsburgh.
It's true. Dubas had a conversation before he even took the job with Sidney Crosby. So he's not going to talk to Crosby. Hey, like, how's things going here? And
want to go to Colorado?
Like, we need you here. Like, you'd be great for us. Great. I'll take the job.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you're traded. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's still fun to talk about. It's fun to think about, and maybe one day it will happen. Next question. Opinion on Sean Barons. We were talking earlier about the prospect pool and how thin it is. He's one of those guys that still gives you some hope as to what's in the Avalanche prospect pool. Haven't seen him yet. He's played 2 years at Denver. I think he's done there. He hasn't announced anything yet. I don't think there's really much left for him to do at the college level, unless he wants to absolutely dominate I think he's probably done there. So I think you're going to see more or hear more about Barons in the next year. I don't think he's ready to make the jump up to the NHL level yet, but he probably will be an invite at training camp. Give him some of that, feel for practice and a couple preseason games, and then let him cook down in Colorado. And hey, if the season goes again with just an insane amount of injuries, maybe they got to bring him up earlier than expected. But I don't think it happens this year if everything goes according to plan. But long term, he's still one of your best prospects, and has, everything looks good for him to be joining this team for future years.
I see him taking a very similar track to Ben Myers, kind of joining late next season, kind of like in garbage time.
You mean getting like called up?
Yeah,
like late.
Yeah, just get that late call up, and
you know what they might do with him? Like they will keep him on like the opening day roster and let him play like 7 games or maybe even like 5. Not get, because once you get to those 9 games, but then he is signing an ELC, so maybe it's not even going to matter. So I guess it doesn't even matter if he signs an ELC. But
don't you burn it after 10 games?
But I think that's I can't remember how it works
because I think that was the big thing around Martin Kaut in his first go round was how many games, how many more do we have before he burns the ELC? When does he hit 10?
And I think it's if you play in your 10th game, you're burning it basically. Yeah. So we'll see. But long term, he's a part of their plans.
Yep.
And I can probably almost guarantee you he was wanted by other teams and trade talk. And I think he was just the guy that were like, we can't get rid of everybody. We can't. So he lucked out and being able to stay with the Avs. Do you think Nicolas Aube-Kubel dropping the cup put an injury curse on the season? I love how us Avalanche fans are trying to find a reason to explain why the Avalanche were so riddled with injuries last year. And it seems to be revolving around the cup somehow. Winning the Stanley Cup, obviously dropping the cup. Was it Aube-Kubel dropping it? Was it Curtis McDermott drunkenly dropping it? It seemed like during karaoke night or something like that. I am open to suggestions because I fully believe in this conspiracy theory that it's something to do with the Stanley Cup. And the year after we get that many injuries, could it be the Aube-Kubel denting it within minutes of them being crowned champions?
Seth, I love this question, but my goodness, we're going to give credence for the rest of our lives to Aube-Kubel, and we have to bring his name up every year. I don't want to do it.
He was good, man. He was a good player for him. He was a good pickup.
He was there.
He was good. He's a fast little guy. So I was happy with him, but still one of the funnier moments of that celebration.
Yeah, that reaction. Like I always reference the Gabe picture with the pyro, but that picture right after Aube-Kubel drops it and everybody's just their reaction.
That's a moment frozen in time. That's genius. But he might be on to something there. But the Stanley Cup has been through a lot.
Oh, yes.
Like there's websites out there and articles out there of everything that's happened. It's been to the bottom of somebody dropped it into a lake. It's been at the bottom of a lake. I think the Canadians left it on the side of the road.
Yes,
I think it was Montreal.
And it got left when they went to, I think it was Chicago, went into, like, this is back in the 1900s. They went and took a picture with it and left it behind by accident.
Yeah. So it's been through some stuff. And I really hope Nicolas Aube-Kubel dropping it wasn't the tipping point for the Stanley Cup where it's like, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
You need to start treating me better. And he cursed the Avs with injuries.
Great.
And finally, we're going to end with this one. This is from Beaston25_8. I know you don't do sound checks for the offseason, but to quote Tom Petty, waiting is the hardest part. Well, Beaston, you are in luck, sir. Ask and you shall receive, because we just added 2 more songs to Soundcheck Volume 2 just for you, sir. because yes, you're right. Like, we don't do any for the off season, and volume 3 is just waiting to go, which is available on the Spotify playlist. You can follow it now. There's only one song on there. You can probably guess what it is, just waiting for more to get added. But just for you, for asking this question, because you're missing out, we're adding 2 more, and they're already on there right now. What did you add, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom?
A little known band that seems to be kind of popular in Avalanche circles, Blink 182.
Oh, heard of them before.
With I Miss You. Don't waste your time on me. You're already a voice inside my head.
That's the best line. I will listen to that song just for that line.
Yep.
Hearing people just like repeat that is it never gets old. Never gets old. So and by the way, I should say, anybody that doesn't know what the Soundcheck is, during the season, Kyle and I, after every game, we add a song that we kind of feel like summarized the game. We add it to a playlist on Spotify. There's 2 volumes out right now. Just go to Spotify, search for LOA Soundcheck. Volume 1, Volume 2 will come up. These ones are going on Volume 2. So you went with the I Miss You, obviously in reference to the Avalanche and not playing right now. And for me, I went kind of in that same realm with Better Than Ezra, and the song is Desperately Wanting. Because, yeah, I mean, even though the season ended not that long ago for the Avalanche, that quickly I'm wanting it back now. So
I find myself sound checking days of my life now because I don't have hockey.
So there you go, sir. Enjoy those 2 bonus cuts from Locked On Avalanche right to your Volume 2 Soundcheck. Go follow that right now. That's going to wrap it up for today, everybody, for today and for the week. So thank you for tuning in today, each and every day, making it your first listen of the day. We really, really appreciate it. Hang out with us for the off season. It's going to be a fun one. Enjoy the weekend, whatever you may be doing, and we'll see you guys on Monday. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you guys Monday.